Hi, my name is Tom Hadigan. I'm the author and the creator of this new YouTube channel dedicated to mixed martial arts. One brief biographical point, I currently lecture. I lecture to postgraduates and my field of speciality is research methods. A biographical point about my interest in mixed martial arts. Well, I've been an avid fan for maybe 20 years. And my interest goes back to the early days of when Georges St. was unsuccessful in his attempt to wrest the world crown in the contest with Matt Hughes. So that's about 20 years. I remember the early days of Cain Velasquez, early days of Brock Lesnar, even the early days of Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy was unsuccessful in an attempt to wrest the world crown from Georges St. Dan is now one of the world's formidable analysts. Simply outstanding. Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to just refer to 5 or 6 people that have been very influential in my own development of appreciation of the mixed martial arts. Firstly, I'd like to give plaudits to John Morgan. John Morgan is quite a well-known mixed martial artist journalist. I think he's the very best journalist, but that's a personal opinion. Others may not agree with that. I'd also like to mention there's this guy whose handle is The Weasel. I have no idea who he is, but he has the most amazing YouTube programs. Often he does a retrospective look at controversial decisions, particularly for world titles, and he's always extremely accurate in his analysis. I thought he was very accurate in his analysis of Shevchenko versus Grasser 2. Another person to, give plaudits to, I think, is Dana White. Dana White is a very successful businessman, but actually he's an expert judge in all areas of mixed martial arts. Whenever I feel uncomfortable about a decision, a final outcome of a championship match, I simply wait for a little time, and then eventually the UFC will publish something, maybe a post-competition press conference, and then Dana White will actually give his views, and he's always right in my view. So he has extraordinary judgment. There's also another journalist called Brett Akamoto. I think he's outstanding. I would say those 5 have been very influential in my own appreciation. Okay, this is my first episode, so my appreciation of lighting and color design is a bit limited, and I'm not going to invest any cash until I see that there's anybody the least bit interested in this channel. But this is episode 1, and I'm going to just do a retrospective of UFC 306. This was a bantamweight contest between the world champion Sean Sugar O'Malley, or Sugar Sean O'Malley, and his challenger Merab Dvalishvili. The most important early thing to say is that this took place at the most amazing venue called the Sphere in Las Vegas. Now, I'm not sure that the UFC did the Sphere and their presentation of the Sphere justice. Maybe they're just too busy with things relating to MMA. But for those of you who don't know, the Sphere is this multimedia entertainment center in Las Vegas. Now, this is incredible. It cost $2.3 billion to build. Now, you imagine that. $2.3 billion is just breathtaking. And if you've had an opportunity to see any of the shows at the Sphere, then you'll understand exactly why it's outstanding, why it's unique. So the UFC were quite ambitious, but quite sensible to try and place their UFC 306 at the Sphere. They succeeded. They made an arrangement with the Sphere proprietors, and I think it was a very successful event. Okay, so let's talk about Sean O'Malley. Well, we can say lots of things about Sean. Firstly, he's a very skilled striker. He has great sense of foot positioning. But that's not his most defining characteristic. His defining characteristic is that he's a great showman. He is the ultimate showman. He knows how to consider a brand, create a brand, define the brand, refine the brand, develop the brand, and expand the brand. And that's what he's done. So Sean O'Malley is actually a brand. Ranging from his very colourful hair to his colourful tattooed upper torso, he's very much a showman. Is he a showman on the same level as Conor McGregor? I'm not sure he's there yet, but he may be very close to it. Now, in terms of his skill set, as I said, He's a very precise striker, and he's a very, he has a good sense of positioning. He knows how to position his feet. Now, there's a couple of negatives. He's not very skilled with the takedown. He's not very skilled with grappling, wrestling. He's not... I don't think he has enough strength. I think he was defeated by Merab because Merab's upper body strength was much greater than Sean's. I think Sean has relied on this very quick foot movement and the accurate striking, but with Merab it just didn't work. He was struck several times and it didn't make the same impact on Merab as it did on other fighters that Sean had fought. So my view is that now that Sean has lost his world title, that was the outcome, and he has to wait for some surgery. My thoughts are that he needs to consider bulking up, adding some muscle to his upper limb, including to his upper body, including his two upper limbs. I think if he comes back much stronger, I think he will be a far more formidable mixed martial artist that would take his potential up to 85%. Now, in terms of the match, I think he lost it 4-1. I think he did win the 5th round. He won the 5th round because he was fortuitous in landing a foot strike on the solar plexus of Merab, and Merab found that very discomforting, as was visible for 1 or 2 minutes. Now, his opponent, Merab, he is a phenomenon. He is absolutely unique. I don't think you can qualify unique, okay? He's not absolutely unique. He is unique. He has cardiac potentiality, cardiac resources that I think are unmatchable in the UFC. I don't know any other current mixed martial artist who has the same cardiac power and power base and resource base that Merab has. He is simply unique. His ability to keep going forward. What other strengths did he have? Well, he wasn't always going forward against Sean. He went to the centre of the octagon and then took a step back, and he confused Sean a little bit because Sean was immediately expecting him to rush towards him. He took a step back and invited Sean to take up the centre and start attacking himself. So from the very beginning, Sean was not too informed about what to do. And Merab has this amazing sense of feints. He moves his feet and he feints in very sophisticated ways. Very hard for any opponent to work out what his plan is. Is he hoping for a takedown, single leg, takedown, double leg? Is he planning to strike? Nobody seems to be able to read his body language successfully, and certainly Sean wasn't able to do that. Now, I said that Sean was 75% the finished work as a mixed martial artist. Paradoxically, even though Merab has just beaten 3 ex-world champions and now a current world champion, I don't think he's the finished product. I would say he's like Sean, he's about 75%. Now, Merab has no striking capabilities or capacity. I can't imagine how you can be that successful and be totally unable to finish an opponent by strikes. He doesn't have the ability to, because he's never needed to. He's so good at the takedown, so good at grappling, so good at wrestling. He's only got to get the person on the ground and he can get upper body control and he can just, control the time and just win on points. I think that Merab needs to come back with substantially improved, striking, and then he would be almost unbeatable, I believe. Now, what are Merab's plans? I think, excuse me again. Merab has just recently won the world title on the 15th of September, so I think he needs a few months to rest and rest on his laurels as a world champion. And I don't think he will be making any immediate decisions about a title defence. There's been some pressure for a return by Sean O'Malley's camp. There's been some pressure for the first defence to be against Khabib's cousin Umar. And I think both of those are too early. I would be a little surprised if Sean was given the return on the strength of that showing. And I also believe he's due for some surgery. So I don't know the future, whether there's a return with Sean, whether there will be another opponent as opposed to Umar. We'll have to wait and see. So that's my first program on mixed martial arts. I will actually come back and look at the co-main event on 306. This is the Shevchenko versus Grasser 3. You may remember that Grasser defeated Shevchenko during their first encounter to win the world title. She then defended it during their second encounter with a draw, a split decision. I didn't agree with the split decision. I thought that Shevchenko definitely won the second fight. So I would say that there's 1 win to Grasser and 2 wins to Shevchenko. But I will return. I will return, and I will overview UFC 306, the co-main event, Grasser versus Shevchenko.